Friends, I welcome you all to the revision series of the generic collective paper, The History of India from 1857 to 1947 CE. I'm happy to talk with you all with a very important topic of the syllabus, the Revolt of 1857. In our last video, we discussed about the political causes of the revolt of 1857. And in this part, we are going to discuss about the administrative and economic causes of the revolt of 1857. I welcome you all to the revision series of the generic collective paper. The revolt of 1857 is the topic which we are looking for. And this is Micheal Nithyn, Department of History, Sacred Heart College, Tirupattur. So administrative and economic causes are another important thing which led to the revolt of 1857. The first important cause in the economic perspective was the exploitation of the peasant. This became one of the major cause of the revolt because the policies of Britain were relentlessly exploiting the Indian peasants. Here we have to again look back at the statement of Essensen. Essensen was the one who said it is not a mere mutiny. Yes, it is not a mere mutiny because the British exploitation reached the lower end of the society, that is the Indian peasants. The imposition of revenue settlements such as permanent settlement, Rayatwari, Mahalwari systems forced the farmers to pay high taxes. Again, I'm going to connect it with the statement which I said in the last video, where the British were here to exploit India and not to rule it. The permanent settlement and Rayatwari settlement and Mahalwari systems are new types of systems which are introduced to collect the land revenue. And out of all these three systems, permanent system and Mahalwari system was too much oppressive and it forced the farmers or peasants to become more poor. Many cultivators lost their lands due to inability to pay taxes and they were trapped in the debt cycle. Again, we have to think that how the farmers were brought into this vicious cycle. Let us take an example. If the Rayatwari or Mahalwari system, an amount is fixed. Let us say it is 1/10 of the produce. During the Mughal times, it was just 1/10 of the produce. And it may, even at that situation, it was very difficult for the farmers to pay 1/10 of the produce. But when British came to power, it was increased five-fold times. That is, 5 out of 10 was taken as a tax. If you are a cultivator and if you are producing 10 bags of rice, 5 bags will be paid to British. If there is a drought, for instance, if there is a drought, then the produce will reduce, but the British will not reduce the tax. So automatically, the cultivators will go and approach the moneylenders. The moneylenders will give a loan which is definitely non-payable. You cannot return back the money. So it burdened many cultivators who lost their lands and life. This widespread economic distress generated deep resentment among the rural population, and this made the revolt of 1857 more peasant-centered revolt. Alienation of traditional elites. Another important economic reason was the alienation of traditional elites. The revolt was also driven by the alienation of Indian traditional elites, including nobles, scholars, and landholders. With the British abolishing royal courts and native patronage system, many members of upper classes lost their status and livelihood. In India, the patronage system was a very important livelihood for educated nobles and scholars. Many small rulers were patrons for many educated scholars who, whose life revolved around the courts of these small rulers. This does not end with the lower level. It's even it will reach the level of kings who are ruling a vast area of Indian territory. In military, there was also another problem which is brewing in the military, where Indians were not given higher posts. The highest post an Indian could reach is Subedar. Furthermore, Indians were also excluded from higher administrative positions. When the Macaulay's Minute was passed, it promised that Indians will be trained in Western education. And Macaulay was very clear that he wanted to create an Indian who has a British mindset. And this refusal of higher administrative positions came as a strong insult for the Indians. This humiliation and resentment was another important reason for the revolt of. Along with this, we also must understand the social and religious causes also became a deeper problem in India. The British viewed India primarily as a source of socio-economic gain and made no real effort to integrate or respect Indian culture. And the racialist ideas of British officers made Indians to be inferior to them. Their formulation of this idea of Indians being inferior led to the insulting remarks like suvar. Suvar is a Hindi term for pig. This made this created a perception of foreign domination that intensified a nationalist sentiment. Though there was no nation at all, the people started realizing that the British were aliens. The racial discrimination and the sense of alien rule became common among the people of India. Each and every citizen of India started thinking that the Britishers are here to exploit India and not to rule it. Religious costs. I already told you, few historians said that this was a war against the Christians. No, it was not purely or just a war against the Christians. The major problem which came after the advent of the British was the effective control which was introduced by the Britishers. And when the people of India started, the people of Britain or missionaries who came to India started evangelization, this was not welcomed by the Indians. They started seeing this as an act which the British, through which the British wanted to destroy the culture of India. The promotion in the army was moved or based on the conversion. The Religious Disabilities Act of 1850 was introduced, and this modified the Hindu customs, saying that if a person switches from one religion to another, he will not lose his inheritance.